Here we go, watching Nozick and Shooter PvP on Lost Temple. People were asking why we didn't use the new ladder maps, and that's because this tournament was in progress for a little bit, and the ladder maps were just put into the most recent version of StarCraft 2 yesterday. So we didn't want to completely change the rules on such short notice. But the next Tankcast Open, bear in mind, will have an updated map pool, so we'll not have Lost Temple, but we'll potentially have Shattered Temple, or even perhaps some of the GSL maps being used by GOM TV. Yeah, sure. I don't want a milkshake. Nozick, right here in the far left side, 9 o'clock position of Lost Temple, is Protest, and another Protest player, Shooter, on the 3 o'clock position of Lost Temple. Both getting their pylons at just about the same time. Nozick with a slight head start. But we'll have to see how their builds deviate in the future. We'll see if people try to expand faster than the opponents, or go for Colossi or Immortals or Stargate units instead. Both of them scouting in the wrong direction, but they will probably see 709s. I don't really care, first of all. Oh my goodness. There's 4 people watching. Oh, that's a good point. Oh, I can
Hello everyone, please excuse the Tankcast for a moment because he is ordering the food for everyone. Alright, as we can see here, he has got a probe and he's scouting out, oh, PvP, sorry, I'm just coming in, and he is scouting out Shooter, and by he, of course, I mean, this guy, Nozick, scouting out Shooter with his probe, and Shooter is scouting out Nozick. I always thought that casting in the beginning is always kind of awkward because there's really not that much going on. He was getting some scouting done. The other guy's also getting some scouting done. But yeah, you know, like if you listen to HD and Husky, they always are just like, yeah, and I'm also going to be casting this other game in a week, and you know, there's nothing. They just talk about whatever. So, yeah, Shooter, probe right there, and this guy, probe right there, possibly leaving it there to use later for building things. Interesting. He went with Gateway Cybernetics Core as opposed to this guy. I just went with Gateway Cybernetics Core. Never mind, I'm just dumb. But he got a Cybernetics Core before him. Let's go ahead and look at the Resources tab. And it would seem as if red guy, Shooter, is doing better. Frank, are you back? Can you? No. Oh, Zealot, he's attacking the probe.
We do see the Zealot from Nozick trying to deny any scouting from Shooter at the moment. No. CJC, a shout out to my good old friend CJC, also known as Cobra to some. Now we do see Shooter. He's doing just a single gateway, pumping out Zealots, and now he's moving out with 3 Zealots, potentially to try and attack Nozick, but doesn't not look like that's what he's going to be doing. Continuing on, they're both getting their warp gate research and have 2 gateways. Scratch that. Nozick is actually going for a fast robotics facility, which is rather interesting. He's even blocking his ramp with a Stalker and a Zealot because he does not want his opponent Shooter to see that he is going for this fast robo facility. He's searching around for proxy pylons as PvP is prone to quite a bit of 4 warp gate pushes. But neither of the opponents are doing that right now, so there are no proxy pylons being set up. Shooter just does have pylons all around his base, and we have a single probe scouting around and does see that Nozick is sort of moving around with his little force, so he's going to try and get into Nozick's base to see what's happening, and he will see the fact that Nozick is going for this strange fast immortal push right here. Maybe not a push, but at least going for fast immortals, which is not something you see every day. Nozick's finally getting his 2nd gateway, and Shooter is sort of building up a normal force while he researches his warp gate. Don't use my money. I mean, same amount for, you know, split it. Split it. You have to pay, yeah. And you also owe me $25. Nozick still looking for those proxy pylons because he's still, I guess, afraid of 4-K push, and now he's actually going for his Robotics Bay to try and get these faster Colossi, although he does have a single mortal here to help him against earlier pushes. Now Shooter, on the other hand, is trying to go for a faster Nexus. Yeah, I can pay for it. You can get him back. You have no money on you? Yeah, you have enough, dude. Shooter, looking at the harvesters, they're even. However, as soon as Shooter does get his expansion up, he will be able to harvest more of these shiny blue minerals over here, which will give him the ability to make armies faster than Nozick and probably overrun him in general. However, Nozick is also setting up his expansion at right around the same time, and you can see that both teams are right around the same. All right. Now, we do see Nozick already coming out with his Colossi. This is really quite quick, only at the 8-minute mark. I mean, you can see him faster, but none of these players are top of the line. Pay me back later. Yeah, pay for the burger and pay me 25 later. We do have a single photon cannon here in the low ground for Shooter from this pylon, which will give him some good defense if Nozick decides to push early. Although if he does get the extended thermal lance range, then the Colossi will be able to hit the photon cannon without being attacked by it. We do now, of course, see Shooter going for his forge upgrades, and in mirror matches, it is really important to get upgrades because then even if you have similar sized armies or similar unit count, then you'll dominate them if you have a little bit of an upgrade advantage. It really does matter, especially for the Zealots, which attack twice. They're okay for the Stalkers, but they're really good for the Zealots, and especially the Colossi. But we do not see Nozick right now getting any forge upgrades on his ground units. He's finishing up his extended thermal lance, getting another Colossi, and the Colossi do area of affected damage with their thermal lances, which is really good against bunched up units, such as the Zealots or the Stalkers, but not so effective against more powerful units such as the Immortal. However, Shooter does have none of these. He just has a whole bunch of warp gates, getting more and continuing to research ground weapons. And we do see a little bit of a skirmish, not really much combat, just a couple Zealots running away from the larger army of Nozick. If you look at the army counts, Nozick actually has a smaller army, but because he has the 2 Colossi, he will be able to dish out a lot of damage to the small clumped up Stalkers and Zealots of Shooter. So Shooter's going to try and stay back in his base and perhaps tech up a little bit so that he can do something a little more tricky against Nozick, or perhaps just try and overwhelm him with a whole bunch of Zealot Stalkers gateway units, as they're called, as they come from gateways. A little heads up right there. +1 attack is about to finish, which will give him pretty big combat advantage. If the army, counts are similar, Shooter may have a good advantage there because he has better upgrades, but Nozick also has a pretty good advantage because he has Colossi. However, Nozick probably needs a little more powerful gateway army to soak up damage so that his Colossi don't get focused down really early. Now let's look at the income tab, and you'll see that they're rather similar, both around 50 harvesters off of 2 bases. Neither looks like they're trying to get their 3rd base, but we do see Nozick now getting a Stargate, 4 Void Rays, and that's a very good endgame composition as Colossus Void Ray, because it just does so much damage, especially against Stalkers, which are really what you need against against Void Rays rather. It's just really hard to defeat if your opponent in PvP has a big Colossus Void Ray ball. But we do see Shooter now trying to take down these destructible rocks, which will allow him to take his 3rd and get once again an economic advantage over Nozick. And he does have a couple of Zealots just chilling around in the center. You getting everybody? And now we again see Shooter continuing to get his great upgrades, getting the ground armor #1, which is good against units such as the Colossi, which attack twice, so it really doubles up the effect of the armor upgrade. So we'll have to see what Nozick does, because he's keeping his composition really similar. He's just sitting in his base and turtling, not really going for any sort of aggression, but here we go. Shooter is moving in, checking to see if Nozick has taken his 3rd, seeing that he has not. and he's just trying to apply some pressure to Nozick, because he doesn't want Nozick to sit there and just get a huge Colossus ball. He needs to put some pressure on him so that he can't just do whatever he wants to do. However, in this case, Shooter might be, rather content to sit back, as he does have an expansion over Nozick. And if you look at Nozick's vision, he does not realize. Actually, he does realize he does have an observer floating around here, so he does know that Shooter has this gold expansion. And here we go. Nozick is pushing. Shooter is coming in with his stalkers, and his zealots are in the back, which is okay because he doesn't actually want to engage right now. He's just trying to bait out some of the units, and then once they get out, then he can surround them with the zealots. However, that's not going to happen. Nozick has better control than that. He's not going to let himself get tricked. And if you look at the army tabs, Shooter actually does have a bigger army, but these Colossi can actually just do so much damage against Shooter's zealots. They can just tear him apart. And now Nozick realizes he needs a third base, so he's going to take out the rocks at his gold base so he can set up a third. Because if you look at the income tab right now, well, actually, Shooter really needs to start mining these probes. There we go. As soon as Shooter's probes begin to mine at his gold expansion, his income should just be so much higher than Nozick's. We see that Shooter is continuing with the simple Stalker Zealot composition. He does have 1/1 upgrades, which is better than Nozick, who just has 1/0 upgrades, but also 1/0 on his Void Rays. Now he has a Mothership. So Nozick's going for a Mothership. Really interesting play here. You do not usually see Mothership, especially this early in the game, which does cloak all. No, you don't. Which does cloak all of his units. And because Shooter does not have any Robo Bays, he does have one Robo Facility right here, but no observers, as I can see.